an effective leader starts with themselves. Because they're able to lead themselves, they're able to lead others, and others are willing to follow. And they begin to see and want to lead a group to accomplish something greater than themselves. They become an organizational leader. Now, the next step along the continuum of a leader's place is community leadership. You see, we all live inside communities, right? And we all have the potential to be a community leader. Welcome back to another episode of Increase. I'm your host, Blake Anderson. Thanks for joining me here for episode 71, wherever you're joining us, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. God bless you. Like, follow, subscribe. Hope you keep joining us for this journey that we're on to bring increase into our life. And we're going to step back into leadership and how we can bring increase in our life through leadership. You know, it's my contention. If you're going to do anything great in this world, you won't do it alone. You'll have a team alongside of you. If you want to make a great impact in this world, you'll do it through your leadership and your ability to harness the power of a team, of an organization, maybe even a community. The people who've made the greatest impact in this world did it through their leadership. You might find someone's face on a billboard or name at the top of a title block, but they are not there alone. And so will be with you. So if you want to bring increase in your life through the rest of this year, 2024, you're going to do it as you bring increase to your leadership. As you raise your leadership, so will follow your results. And that's what I want for you. I want you to be able to increase in your life. I think what this world needs more than anything else is the people to step into their God-given calling and be fruitful and multiply in the land in which they're called. That you would step into the leadership with the gift that you've been given to solve the problem that only you can solve. And you'll need to do it with a level of leadership that brings people along so you can make a greater play and a greater impact. Isn't that in everyone's heart? We want to know that our life matters, that we have the capability and potential to make a difference, that we have something to contribute, that our life must mean more than just our very existence. You're starting to talk about leadership now. You're starting to involve other people. That maybe you have a message or a story to tell that brings people alongside of you, that allows them to hearken to your voice, to a message that you have. And so today, if you're watching this podcast, you're a leader and you need to know that. And I want to talk to you about a leader's place. I want to really give you a context and an understanding of the landscape that you find yourself in. I think far too many people in society right now don't see themselves as the leader. They think, well, my boss is the leader. My husband's the leader. My wife's the leader. My pastor's the leader. No, they might be leaders, but you are a leader. See, it's my belief that everyone has leadership potential inside of them, and everyone is called to be a leader. And I want to talk to you about the leader's place and where you start. So I've drawn a continuum here. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, check out the video podcasts on YouTube. But I've got a continuum behind me. And the continuum starts with individual on one side, moves to organization, moves to community. Now, leaders lead at different levels. You know, we think about our president, our mayors, or elected officials as the people who lead at the community level. We also often think about the business leaders, the ministry leaders, the CEOs are leading on the organizational level. And then individuals might have influence and the ability to persuade others and are leading on the individual level. But I want you to understand, no matter where you find yourself in the org chart, no matter how well you might be known in your community, whether there's anybody that really listens to you, you have the potential to be a leader, and you don't just exist in one of these, you exist in all of these. See, a leader must find their place in the larger context, and you have a place in each one of these. You live on this spectrum as an individual leader, as an organizational leader, and as the potential to be a community leader. Now, whether you fully realize your potential as a leader in these different spaces has everything to do with your ability to gain influence with other people and your willingness to take responsibility. Let me say that again. This is probably something that you need to write down. You see, a leader is someone that has influence with others and is willing to take responsibility for the results. Now, everyone exists in this context of individual, organization, and community, but you may not be realizing your potential as a leader in each one of those contexts. But I think if you'll see yourself, you'll see the context, you'll find your place, you'll realize you have the potential right now today to start being a leader at all levels. Okay? Because a leader is someone who has influence with others and takes responsibility for the results. So not everyone is a leader, but everyone certainly has leadership capability, leadership potential. So where does it all start? See, a leader's place starts inside. First, you've got to be willing and able to lead yourself. Okay? The most effective leaders at all levels know that it starts with me. I've got to look myself in the mirror. I've got to be able to hold myself accountable to my word and the things that I want to pursue. I have to have influence with myself, and I've got to be willing to take responsibility for the results. See, a leader understands that for success to be possible, you have to take 100% responsibility. It's nobody's fault but my own. There's nobody to blame but me. I have to pray like it's up to God, but I've got to work like it's up to me because I understand my part in the scenario. And though I might be asking God to bless me, and yes, God can do things for me I can't do for myself, He requires that I take the battlefield. He requires that I step into the place that only I can stand, right? So as a leader, I start with myself. I need to have influence myself, which means I'm a person of my word. It means I have confidence in my ability to fulfill. I keep my word. I honor my commitments. And then I take responsibility for the results. Okay? After I'm able to do this on a personal level, I'm next able to do this on an individual level, individual by individual. So after I start with me, now I can come to you. Now here's the thing. If I'm going to have influence with you, then you've got to see that I got influence with myself. Because are you really going to trust me if you can tell that I don't trust myself? Right? See, many of us want to have influence with each other. We want people to do what we say. But the question I want to ask you is, should they? You see, if you don't even do what you say, should someone else? And the reality is even if you have the right words, they won't do what you say. They won't follow your lead unless they feel like you are trustworthy. They have confidence in you because you have confidence in you. So after I get good with my own leading myself, and I take responsibility for my results, now I'm able to then show others the way, and I'm able to lead them. I'm able to gain influence with them through my actions, my behavior, my words. And then I need to be able and be willing to take responsibility for the results. People don't want to be led, only be hung out to dry. If a leader says this is the way and it doesn't go very well, then they need to be willing to hold themselves accountable and say, I screwed up here. Okay? So I'm moving from personal to individual, and then my sphere starts to expand. As I'm able to lead a person, I realize I also exist inside of an organization. So unless you're a hermit who lives out by themselves, which I wouldn't expect to increase will come in the presence of other people. We've been created and meant to live this life together, that we're all members of organizations. There's no such thing as a solopreneur. I think that's a myth, though that's a buzzword when the gig and the hustle economy today. There's no one as a solopreneur. Even if you're the only person that works in your company, to produce a product, you have vendors, you have partners, you have contractors that you're working with, and so you are a part of a larger organization. You're also part of a larger organization and potentially in a position to lead organizationally, even if you're at the bottom rung, wherever you find yourself in the corporate structure and the hierarchy, you have the potential to be a leader. right? So even in the organization, I lead individuals when I'm trying to persuade people to work with me on a project or get something done. But I begin to lead the organization when I put the organization's goals, when I put the organization's vision and mission in front of my own. When I try to push forward the organization's health and the organization's mission, and I bring people together to push that organization's mission forward, I become an organizational leader. I'm thinking much bigger than myself. I'm thinking much bigger than whether you said yes to me. And I'm thinking about, is the organization able to be successful? And what is needed for this organization to be successful? And as I do that, I'm a leader when I have influence with the people in the organization, but I create influence for the organization with my activities. You see, if I want my organization to lead, then my organization has to gain influence. And then ultimately, I'm an organizational leader if I'm willing to take responsibility for the results of the organization. Not just the results of my team, not just the results of what I'm responsible for, but when I begin to see that the results of the organization are my own, and my results are intertwined with the organization's results, I put them ahead of mine. I take responsibility for it. If you're willing and are able to get influence in the organization and take responsibility for the organization's results, you're an organizational leader. Now, everyone has the potential to be that. Yes, if you're the janitor right now, you have the potential to be an organizational leader. When you clean that bathroom, knowing that that is a reflection on the organization and you want the organization to be successful and the people to think well of that organization based on the bathroom that they come into, you're an organizational leader. If you're an administrative assistant who's making copies or preparing the conference room for the meeting, and you take pride in, are willing to take responsibility for the presentation so that those coming into your space think well of your organization, you're an organizational leader. When you begin to take ownership of the result and want to see it all be successful and are willing to do whatever it takes to make that possible, you are an organizational leader. Not just the boss, not just the department head, not just the CEO. Everyone has the potential to be an organizational leader. So let's move back through that continuum again. An effective leader starts with themselves. They can lead themselves. And then so doing, because they're able to lead themselves, they're able to lead others, and others are willing to follow. And then as they're willing to lead more than one individual and a group of individuals, and they begin to see and want to lead a group to accomplish something greater than themselves, they become an organizational leader. Now, the next step along the continuum of a leader's place is community leadership. You see, we all live inside communities, right? I have a neighborhood, I have a family community, I've got a neighborhood community, I've got the town in which I live in, the county I live in, the state I live in, the country I live in. We all live inside small communities, inside larger communities, and we all have the potential to be a community leader. So following our methodology so far, what would it take for me to be a community leader? Right? Well, based on the definition that we've put forward, a leader has influence and takes responsibility. So I become a community leader when I gain influence throughout the community. And then I take responsibility for the community's results. If you're someone who volunteers time to adopt the highway, what are you doing? That's community leadership. You've decided this highway is my highway and I want it to look well. I want it to reflect well on this community. I'm going to take responsibility for the results of this highway. If you walk around your neighborhood picking up trash, or you go on a run through the greenways and you pick up trash, you're a community leader. I worked out the other day with a gentleman who, when all the gyms were closed during COVID, he began to run the greenway trails in the town that I'm in. And he took great pride and responsibility because he noticed that the more traffic there was on the greenway, the more littered and polluted it became. Now, this is a person who decided that he was going to take responsibility for this greenway. Yet he knew he was only one of thousands of people that ran down the greenway. He took ownership of the greenway and decided whenever he was on the greenway, he was going to carry a backpack. Because whenever he saw trash or something that didn't belong, he was going to treat this greenway as his own, pick up the trash and take it with him. That's a community leader. This man has no official title. He's not on the payroll of the town, yet he is a community leader. If you walk out your neighborhood, if you go to the pool and you see that there are young kids that are acting up and disturbing other people, and you decide to confront misbehavior and lead those children into behaving themselves around others, you became a community leader. If you go to your church and you volunteer or you help park the cars inside of that organization and that community, and you're taking responsibility for the results, you are a community leader. So no matter where you find yourself, whether you've ran for to become an elected official, or you're just someone who's renting an apartment in that town, if you decide to put the results of the community above your own, and you decide to work and take responsibility for the results of the community in any way, shape, or form, you, my friend, are a community leader. A leader must know their place, but I want you to know that most of you are sitting in a place of influence. You're sitting in the place of leadership potential, and you don't even know it. And it's my heart through this podcast that I would inspire you, that I would equip you, and that you would engage as the leader that you were created to be, as the leader that you need you to be, as the leader that people around you need to be, as the leader that your family, your organizations, and your community need you to be, because that leadership potential is in you. And you sit in a place to make a difference. What happens in the world as if we were to all wake up tomorrow and understand our rightful place as an individual leader, an organizational leader, and a community leader? The men would walk off the battlefields. The crime would stop immediately. Everyone would realize that they have a place to make a difference. They have the power to make a difference. They would start to experience this desire to make a larger impact than just existing, living, and breathing on this earth. And isn't that what we all really want? The statistics today are alarming at the young people who don't have purpose in their life. I was at a workout today, and I heard the story of a friend of mine's son who just doesn't feel purpose yet. He's graduating high school, and he just hasn't been exposed to his place as a leader. Yet this young man in his teens has the potential to be a leader. And it's my belief that if he was shown his place as a leader, it would change the way he felt about his life, as he would understand how important he truly is. Though this young man is many years a minor to me, I need him to be a leader in my community. His family needs him to be a leader in that family. And as if he will lead in his family, he will lead in an organization he works for, if he will lead in the community through his influence and taking responsibility, he would impact and make my life better. And I know that as I do the same, I will impact his life the same. You have the potential locked inside of you. You were born with it. You were created with it. In your heart, God has given you a vision for something greater. He's put a calling and a burden on your heart, a passion to want to solve a problem and help people, and He's uniquely given you gifts to do it. You are a leader. Take your place, leader. We're waiting for you. God bless you. I hope this episode has exposed you to your identity of who you've been called to be, and I pray that you will continue to join me for the next episodes of Increase as we just continue to press into this understanding and concept of transformational leaders, as this podcast desires to inspire and equip the leaders who God has created you to be, so that you will see your place in society and we will feel the effect of you taking it. See you next time for another episode of Increase.